Hey everybody, and welcome to the second part of modeling the quilted chair tutorial. Now this is where we stopped in the previous part, so if you haven't watched the first part, go and check it out, and let's continue. So this is, like I said, this is where we stopped in the previous part. So what I want to do here, first things first, is check and see if this thing is in scale of what I have. So I'm going to unhide my bounding box. I'm going to align it to the middle, so center to center. Go X, Y, and Z. Actually, I'm going to move it on Z. There we go. And I want to move it slightly down up until there. All right. So this line over here now, this is supposed to be the height of the seat when you sit on it. So that's going to be a helpful line to keep an eye on. So for now I'm going to hide this thing, and let's start by creating the geometry, or the helping geometry for the seat. For this I'm going to go in the top viewport like this, hold on Control and right click, and from here choose plane. With the plane I want to make it so it goes all the way up to the back like so, and go in and put an edit poly on top of this thing. Now move the vertices to the side so it kind of follows this curve better, like that. Move it here like so, and also put a symmetry modifier on the y-axis, so when we're just working with one side we don't have to deal with the other one. All right, great. So now with this thing, I want to move this thing upwards so it's at the base level of our chair, like so. And now I want to put a shell modifier on top of this thing. Now the outer limit for the shell modifier should be in line with this line that we have for the seat, or 1/2 meter or 50 centimeters from the bottom. So just so I can see it better, I'm going to move this thing up until here, and now increase this number until I get to this line over there. Great. So now again, move this thing back into position over there and hide our bounding box. All right, so I have some geometry that should help me hold this form. So I need to add in some helping geometry to hold the shape of this cushion, because if I go ahead and put a turbo smooth on top of it right now, it's going to be a bit gooey. All right, so for this I'm going to go on top of the symmetry modifier, put an edit poly, and now put one edge with the swift loop at the bottom here. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go and hide this thing. So now what I can see is where this thing starts to go to be a bit rounded, and I can see it's about here at this point right here. So I'm going to put one line over there, and now I'm going to select all of the polygons on the top by turning on the by angle option. I can select all of them, since they're on a plane, they're all going to get selected, so I don't have to do it individually. So now I'm going to scale this thing inwards a bit until I get it so it's at a point where I'm getting this curve now. All right, that's good. Another thing I want to do is select these inner polygons, move them upward a bit. And now if I turn on the turbo smooth, I'm going to get that nice look that we would get from this thing. So what I might actually even do is put in one more, let's just do it like this, add in the cage. Now hold down shift and click with the swift loop. This is going to add one more edge that we can control the shape, like so. And this is more in line of what I want to have. So now what I want to do here is just select these polygons in here, maybe even these, and slightly move them off. Maybe even try to do that with this edge like so. So we have that bit of a bulge at the front. All right, so with this, I have the basic seat, so I can continue with the modeling. But before I go on, I want to check and make sure that this thing sits well in the back, because from what I can see, I have a bit of a gap in here. So what I'm going to do is go in here, select these polygons, select them on this side as well, even this one, and slightly move them to the back until they're in position, so I no longer have that gap in my seat. So turn this thing off. All right, I think this is good enough for what we needed to do. All right, awesome. So, well, actually, if I take a look at this side, I can see that I need this thing to be held a bit better. So let's add in some geometry for that. And creating that helping geometry is not actually hard at all. All we have to do is at this point right here, what we want to do is go ahead and add in one line right around here. So let's just see the end result. By putting in that line, we're going to get those edges to stick more to the side like we wanted to. But now the only problem that we might get here is that even if I turn off the show cage, what I might notice is that I have this sharper border here. And the reason why I'm getting that sharper border is simply because once I put this edge over here, now it's smoothing the surface between these two lines. So they're very close to each other. So what I want to do is select 4 of these polygons that we just created. Go down in our menu here and click on the set flow. This is going to average out the distance between this edge and this edge. And that should help us with that border that we got previously. So now if we take a look, we no longer have that border. And at the edges, we have our cushion being really nice tucked in. So if we want to even have a bit more geometry to go, help with, or go in turn with the density that we have over here, we can just put in 2 iterations. And we have a very, very good looking cushion for our chair. So let's just make it the same color as this. There we go. Much better. It works fine and looks like it looks actually like it's part of the same geometry as this thing. All right, so let's continue with making the legs for this chair. The legs shouldn't be anything complex, mainly because from what I can see on this side, they're actually boxy, so they're like a box, but on this side they have a bit of a swirl, so that it's rounded. So the easiest way would be to create a box like here, move it outwards to about this height, give it some thickness. Now go in here from the side, move it up to about here, put edit poly on top of this thing, and move these vertices a bit back to around there. Great. Now, what I want to do here is simply go in and add in a few connections. So connect with 2. I can even try with 3, but let's just go with let's go with 3. So I want to select these 3 lines, so this one, and this one on the front, move them outwards a bit, get the central one and move it outwards like so. So as you can see here, now we have that swirl on the front. I think it's a bit too upwards, so something like that. Great, so we have what we want there. So now we just need to make sure that this thing is going to follow where it's supposed to be at. So what I want to do first is rotate this at 45 degrees, like so. Move it actually not 45, but back 10, so it's 35 degrees, like so, until I get it to a point where I'm happy with how this thing looks. And honestly, I think the bottom part here should be a bit smaller, so we need to scale this thing inwards, like so, because I can see it looks like this thing is tapered a bit on the bottom. All right. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to create the legs for the back and the ones on the other side. So for this, I'm going to hold down Shift, move this leg to the back, like so. Rotate it around for 90 degrees till it's about in position. I just need to make it so it's kind of holding the weight of this thing, like so. Also, from what I can see, I want to have this thing a tiny bit smaller, so I'm going to scale it inwards. Again, I'm eyeballing this thing because I don't have the actual size or the blueprints for this thing, so I'm eyeballing it and trying to get it as closely as possible. So with this done like so, next thing I want to do is add in the geometry to help with the turbo smooth, because at the moment if we put a turbo smooth of any of these, we're going to end up with something like this, so we don't want that. So first thing, since I'm not going to be seeing what's here, this is going to be inside the chair, so I'm going to delete those faces and go in here, add in one edge over there and one edge over there. This should help us by holding this form like so. As you can see, it looks like we want it to look, with two smooths from the turbo smooth. Even here it looks okay, but I think that for this piece, the reason why we are having some issues is we don't have any help for this edge. So it might be a good idea to go ahead and chamfer this and see how that thing is going to hold out. So a very small amount, like so. So 0.05 centimeters. Click OK. So now when we turn on the turbo smooth, it should help us get a bit better look at the bottom. There we go. So no more black issues. All right, so no more dark black polygons, and that thing is fixed. So now let's do the same thing over here. Delete this thing, go at the bottom. There we go, select the polygons or the edges at the bottom here. Chamfer of the same 0.05. Add in one swift loop at the side here and one more over here, so it kind of holds the form. Turbo smooth with 2 iterations, and we have this thing exactly like we want it. So now the next thing would be to basically take this, and what I can do here is also to just simplify things for me. I can turn off the turbo smooths for now on both of these, so attach them both together. Now with the effect pivot only, I want to align my pivot to the center here. But now I can see another thing. By doing this, if I align it like this, as you can see, the X and the Y are a bit changed because we basically rotated this around for 30 degrees. So if I want this to be the same as the world pivot, what I want to do first is go into Utilities, reset the X form, click Reset Selected, right click and convert to enable poly. So now when I go ahead here and affect the pivot only and move it in the center by center, so or pivot point to pivot point, there you go, like this. Now if I put a symmetry on the y-axis, it's going to transfer this thing to this side, because we reset the X form. So now if I just go ahead and put a turbo smooth, it's going to apply to all of them, like so. So we have this thing creating our legs. So now the only thing that I need is to create these wooden planks that go from one of these legs to the one in the back. So the easiest way to do with this is hold on Control, right click and choose a line and go from one side to the other. And now what I want to do here is move this thing to about here. So now I have this vertex at the middle, and I want it to go all the way up to this one in the back. Okay, like so. And here what I want to do is enable in renderer and in viewport, change it to a rectangular, get the length to be something that's good for us in this case, so something like maybe 2.5. There you go. Move this thing inwards like so. So it's okay in this side. Zoom out a bit. It's actually good over here as well. So 2.5 for the length, and the width can be seen directly if we, for now, just hide this thing. The width can be controlled directly by this point over here. So I can increase the width a bit more. And I think around 2.9 or 3 centimeters is more or less what we need. So I'm going to go Control back, Control Z. No, that was a bad choice. All right. Unhide all. All right. Hide this thing. So we have the first plank put in. What we want to do now is affect pivot only, center to object. Rotate this thing for 90 degrees. Or better yet, just go ahead and mirror this thing on the y-axis. There we go. And now move it into position like so until it's at the both sides, it's touching the at the right point. Okay, move it inwards just a tiny bit to compensate for the change. Do the same thing over here, and great. So now I have this thing in here, but it's still just boxes. So what we're going to do is put a chamfer modifier on this thing. So go and drop a chamfer with a very small amount, something like 0.1, and the tension 0.5. This is going to help with having this thing in the middle, or the center edge in the middle. Now the thing is, since we made this from a line, we're always going to have this line in the middle. So I'm going to hold on Control and backspace to remove that line. Again, not a really a problem, because that's inside the chair. And I'm going to move this inside like so. So we can, even if we want, we can go in here, select that one, grow once, we can grow twice, and delete those edges. And it's not going to be a problem. It's actually going to make it even easier for us when we are going to be unwrapping this. So let's actually go do the same thing over here. So again, chamfer, make, not a chamfer first, but the line should go and be, actually yes, a chamfer first with a small amount of 0.1 and a tension of 0.5. Put an edit poly on top of it. Select the polygon, grow it twice, delete, go to the other side, select both of these polygons, now grow twice, delete. Make sure that all the polygons are going inside the wooden leg, like here. So we cannot see that's out. All right, that's fine. Check this one. Yeah, see, we have this thing protruding outwards, so we just want to move it inside the leg, like so. We're happy. And the last thing we want to do is, as we've created this, just hold down Shift, pull it upwards to about there. Because from what we can see, we have that same geometry in here as well. So now just slightly, and ever slightly, move in those vertices to where we want them. Something like here. Check this side. This side is okay as well. All right, so now just move this thing a bit to the middle. And great, with that, I think that we have our legs. So let's select them, give them a gray color, something like this. And we have the seat and the legs. So now, after finishing the legs and the seat and the backrest, the only thing that we have to create for this chair is the actual quilting on the backside. Now, for this actual quilting, since we created this backside really kind of separated by this piping, what we can do here is we can either fake it and create this thing with a normal map or bump map to help us drive this geometry, or actually create a geometry to help us have a better result. In this case, I would like to create the geometry, but since that's going to take a bit of time, I'm going to leave this as a separate video, the third part for this chair, because we've been going on for about 20 minutes in this video as well. So I usually tend to not go over 20 minutes in the videos. So I hope you guys had fun and you managed to learn something new in this video. If you have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section of the video. And if you enjoyed the video, then please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, and hopefully it's going to be the final one. Cheers, everyone.